Hey guys, I'm Dante and welcome to Quick Vids, where I show you the start and end of a prop making video in a short amount of time. A while back I showed you guys this prop I made. It was called the tree axe. It was made to resemble carved wood, metal plating, metal bolts, and even have a little bit of foliage left from the very tree it was cut down from. Now this whole thing was actually made out of soft EVA foam. So I want to go ahead and do another project similar to it, and I want to show you guys the steps I take to do that. Now first things first, you need a design, so take a look at this. This is a quick sketch I made. It is meant to look like a tree branch that was quickly cut down and haphazardly carved and chopped and then filled with just metal nails and rivets and all these kind of nasty looking pieces. It's meant to be brutal, it's meant to be aggressive, it's meant to be a really nice primitive melee weapon. So we're going to try and make that using, once again, common materials you can find in certain corner stores. And let's get started with that then, shall we? As you can see, I've already gone and measured out and cut the pieces of our EVA foam with a simple box cutter. You can also use an X-Acto knife if you wish. I'm kind of winging the size of the prop. Pretty much it's going to be the length of this PVC pipe, which is about what? I'd say 14 inches long. It's going to extend on the top. The foam is going to be extended about that far, giving me enough of a handle. And the base will extend about that far. So once again, I just kind of winged it. I want this to be a nice broad piece of wood, or rather look like a piece of wood by the time I'm done. So it will be a square box all around the plastic piping. That's about 3.5 inches on each side. Now, this foam is actually cut from a 1/2 inch sheet of foam, smooth on one side with a very small textured end on the other side. And this box, because it'll be so thick around the pipe, will have to be filled out with more EVA foam, which I got courtesy of leftovers. This box, or rather this bag, is filled with different EVA foams. This is a 1/4 inch thickness. Once again colored, same texture, but 1/4 inch thickness as well. And even this foam-like material, this is a simple placemat for when you feed your cats. You put it on the floor, you put the food bowl on top, but it has a nice textured grip to it, and it'll be good to fill out all the small details, all the chopped up wood carvings that will be at the top and the base of this prop. So I'm gonna go from here, trim off the puzzle pieces you have on the edges to make sure all pieces are squared out. Then I'll use a basic hot glue gun and put it together, and from there add some sculpting detail. Let's go to the next part. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the assembly process. I did half shells for the top and bottom half of the club. Now I can show you what I'm going to do in between to better fit this pipe. First things first, a reminder of the measurements, which are, in this case, 3.5 going across. I want 3.5 to be all around. So I take into account the fact that the foam is 1/2 inch thick, which means, let me turn it over, there you go. Which means this red piece, for example, is only 2.5 inches. So 2.5 inches plus 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. And right there we have our squared out 3.5 inches. So as they say, guys, measure twice, cut once. Same thing with the bottom piece, of course, using this as the final bridge. Now, for the inside, I took a whole bunch of miscellaneous pieces I have left over of different colors. I'll be going through a lot of these later on. I'm going to fill up the inside. So once again, this is a 1/2 inch, another 1/2 inch. I'm going to put that in here. I'm purposely having pieces extend outside of it because remember, the base of this is going to be all jagged and cut up, just like in our reference. So I took another piece once again, making sure it takes up the length of the red, but sticks out further. So that adds another inch of thickness to it. Technically, I have 1.5 inches left in between, but since I'm using glue gun to put this whole thing together, I'm going to leave just a little extra space. I'm not going to add a thinner piece to take it up completely, because when you're working with foam, it's a soft material. It's not exact measurements like steel or actual wood. So this bit of leeway in between will allow me to put in, let's say, a glue gun or even some caulking material or liquid nail to hold it in place. So here's our starter piece with all the foam glued in place. As you can see, I layered foam in a tapering form, so one small, all the way down. These are all the leftover pieces from past projects, from this project, all jammed in there with hot glue gun. I repeated the same process on the bottom, even wrapped the foam around the pipe, and again on this side as well. So I'm going to take some carving tools such as a Dremel or certain sanders I have, and I'm going to start cutting into this and giving it a more like hand carved look. I want to keep this all in its general shape to look more like wood that was splintered off. So let's jump into that side of it, and I'll show you the final look before we go to the painting process. So I've already started some of the carving of the foam. I started off with this big bad boy, which has a sander on one side. I did it primarily to round off the edges and to kind of reheat the glue in between, because when you sand that, the hot glue gun builds up nicely and fills up the gaps. So now I'm just adding more detail using this Dremel. Now the good thing about the Dremel, you're freehanding it, you can do whatever you wish with it, and because this product is going to end up looking like badly carved wood, I could just be loose. I've really gone and started doing wood carved details, and it's just trimming, rounding off the edges so they look more uniform. Then afterwards, I'll take a filling compound, like I mentioned before, maybe a caulking gun to fill in the gaps, and maybe even add more raised details on top of this. So I'm going to stop here just for now to show you that I'm kind of at an impasse. Now, I'm going to keep going, of course, and smooth out. That's Bastion, by the way. I'm going to smooth out more and more along the edge here to have it taper better. But if I didn't, as you notice, this looks kind of like a mountaintop. Like, I could take this same technique, keep it really rough, even add more angles as opposed to smooth lines when I cut it, and I can make this a like stone weapon, like a stalactite, especially with the bottom half already being really box-like in shape. It kind of works with the idea of it being stone. But since I don't have the colors I would like to paint it to make it stone, I'm going to keep going with my original idea. But just to show you how this same technique with just a Dremel, a hot glue gun, and other sanding material can be used to make different textures, especially with the EVA foam. Okay, so I used liquid nail as my caulking material, which in the end will help also adhere very nicely to it to fill in all the gaps. I used a piece of the foam that had texture to give the strokes some nice details. And while this dries, I'm going to use some miscellaneous leftover foam to make the nail and the round loop at the end. Alright guys, we have one side of our nail, the other side with a top and a taper that I've already sketched out. I'm going to cut the small box out to insert it and it will stick just like that. Speaking of which, on this other side there is our metal ring. I'm going to put a little gash in it. Once again, it's fun to just kind of freestyle with this material. If you find yourself damaging part of it, especially if you're sculpting something that looks like wood, use the damage. I saw a small nick, and rather than start all over again, I just went and deepened that nick to make it a nice gash. After I glue everything together, after everything dries, I'll go back and pick away all the small pieces, the loose bit of glue gun material, etc. And then we'll give this a spray to prime it for spray paint. Okay, let's keep going. I also added really thin foam. This is from the placemat, but you could always use crafting foam from like a Michael's art supply store or whatever. And I wrapped it around the handle, so when it's spray painted, it will look like the handle is also carved wood. Alright guys, so we coat our foam with peel coat. This was actually a kind of shimmery gloss peel coat, which in the end made our wooden prop look more like, well, shiny onyx. Going back to what I said before, you can use this technique to make stone props or stone armor. And yeah, using that peel coat with the shiny little flakes of silver really makes it pop. But I want to stick with the wood concept, so I'm going to hit it with this more wood tone, this more yellowish wood tone. But you can see how everything, now that it's a uniform color, really comes together, hiding many of the seams I didn't want to show before. So we're going to get some black, flat black on these spikes. And then after that, after all the spray painting's done, we could probably go back into it with some acrylic. Maybe some brown acrylic to help the wood detail pop. Alright guys, here we are, fully coated in our colored spray paint. Black, this nice wood tone. And I'm going to go ahead and take some airbrush paint. I mixed some red and some green to get a more natural darkening rather than just use a flat brown. Red, green, and yellow, and I'm going to paint this into a few of the details. Also add a bit more black acrylic and or airbrush paint to push out the black, and then I'll give the black pieces a shine of silver on the edges. Just make them pop. So I'm just going to do some coloring, and you guys get to check it out. I want to show you something I learned online from a fellow YouTuber. I'll put the link, let's say, right about here. This individual showed me real quick how to color damaged or old metal. So rather than spray paint a solid coat of silver, or any color, bronze, whatever you want. You spray paint onto a rag or a cheap cloth, and you strike over the object you want to color. Obviously, there's a base color beneath it. In this case, it was this semi-metallic black when I used the Plasti Dip. So you strike it. And aside from it giving you these cool, marks, these cool, strikes in the actual foam, what it does, it colors the top, but not any certain details. So let's say this cut I have here, I strike the paint over, the paint stays on top, doesn't get inside. Same thing over here on the spike. Paint on top, but this cracked detail, it's not colored. So this is going to be experimental. What I want to do is add some bumpy rust to the larger nail. Maybe even the small ones, but the big one is the main focus here. Now to do that, I'm going to be using acrylic, since acrylic has a bit more of a texture to it than just the regular water-based airbrush paint. But I'm actually going to mix the acrylic with just some regular tissue paper. So I'm actually painting little bits of tissue paper onto the nail. And we're going to see how that texture shows up in the final product. Some heavy acrylic, water it down, some tissue paper to get that nice texture look. This is cadmium red, cadmium yellow, canary yellow, cadmium red, and just a little mixture of leftover brown airbrush paint from when I did the wood. And then you dab it on heavily so it can really stick up like nasty scabs. 'Cause that's what it is. It's rust. Rust is scab for metal. And I also painted it into the grooves and details. So if you have any details you don't like, a piece of foam that got cut or damaged, just use this technique to cover it up, or even use it to your advantage. I did it on one side, I did it on the other side as well. And the next time you see me in the video, it'll be after I added some final touches, and we'll be all done. And now, with all the final details added, we have our completed prop. A wooden fence post with a bunch of deadly nails put into it, with a leather grip. In the end, I'm quite proud of this one. It was a new learning experience when it came to the painting and addition of these kind of free-form, loose details. The coloring is a bit vibrant, but you know what? I still like the color. I think it gives it a little bit of a flair to it. You can see I added some black stitching to the leather, even though the leather is glued on. Over here is our now dried rust, which is all bulbous and misshapen, and gives it a bit more pop on an otherwise flat surface. And in all the deeper sections of the wood, you can also see darker brown tones to really make it look like a rotted piece of, discarded fence post. And as an added bonus, I picked up one of these chains. It's a Halloween chain. You can pick it up for like $5, even cheaper if you know where to go. It's hollow, it's plastic, and with a little cut in the end, you can attach it on the loop and make yourself one heck of a melee weapon. Perhaps even recreate the entire process for this in a smaller square block on the opposite end. I love this guy. It really swings very nicely because it's lightweight. Once again, this is all soft foam, which means it will break on contact before, someone's head does. It is not permission to whack someone though, because once again, this is a costume piece, not a toy. If you guys like this project, because I sure did, leave a comment below. Request future projects, give me ideas, give me challenges. If you want to see more, like, subscribe, and heck, come down to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and look for me, The Burgos Art. I'll keep you updated on future projects, and I hope to show you even more of fun quick vids just like this. Once again guys, I'm Dante. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the future. Later.